Shadowverse.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and Elden Ring's world building is absolutely phenomenal, but what really annoys me about that is that I didn't learn how good it was from the game. And to me, that's a big problem. Now, I understand that the way FromSoft, the developers of Elden Ring, the way that they do story is very undertoned, mysterious, not in your face, and you have to do digging. There's a joke in the Dark Souls community that Oz told me about. Say hi, Oz.
Hello.
That you have to wait for a video from Vati Vidya to understand the world building. And what's interesting, it was one of Vati Vidya's videos that helped me understand the world building of Elden Ring. So much to the point, and I'm really annoyed. Now, for people who love the way FromSoft does their storytelling, I have experience with writing. I've experience with world building, okay? I do this as a career. I'm an author, and I've studied it a lot. And my own opinion, but it is also an informed one from a lot of study, right, is that they are shooting themselves in the foot a bit, and that they could achieve the same thing that they're offering the people who like their style in terms of mystery and stuff like that. They could still achieve that and not leave so many people in the lurch, myself included, in just not understanding what's going on. There are some fundamental elements in the story and world building of this world that I feel is actually essential. Now, and when I say essential, I'm going to clarify that so you understand. Essential for the player, the audience, to understand enough of what's going on to be invested to see what the results will be. To me, that's what I feel is essential world building or storytelling. Enough to invest the audience, the reader, to want to know the conclusion. Now, why do I feel Elden Ring doesn't do that? Because I understood very little going into the game. There was an Elden Ring, it was shattered, I needed to find it. I didn't know why, I didn't really know what, it was causing all these bad things, okay? The world has gone to crap. How? And the how isn't that difficult to explain. In fact, I want to explain it to you, and also by doing it, show you how awesome and incredible this world building is and explain why I think it's so great. And in doing that, I would also be providing with people who don't understand the lore or the story, the thing that was lacking for me, the essential story or enough of the story that you need to know to be invested to want to know how it concludes. If you do not have that in a story, whether it's video game, novels, or anything, the reader will just turn off. That's why it's essential. If you want a story that actually causes people to want to finish it, you need that. That's the essential, at least the bare minimum. You can go further than that, and I think even perhaps FromSoft could do this as well. They could go further because there is so much incredible story and lore in this world. And the ways they have implemented, right, there's a difference between telling the story and implementing it, okay? They tell very little in the story, but it is implemented in nearly everything in this game. And what annoys me is because you know so little of the story, you barely pick up on how it's implemented because you can't see the connections. But when you know those connections, you pick it up from the items to every single boss, every single creature, it's everywhere. The world building is oozing out of every facet of this game, and what friggin' annoys me is that I missed all of it because I didn't know enough to even notice it.
Yeah, it's the old story, how's it go? Show, don't tell, but the Japanese have show, don't tell. Actually, you have to be a detective to figure this crap out.
Yeah, no, this isn't showing, it's not telling, it's hiding. Now, some people like the detective mystery, reading every single description of every single spell and item to find the connections. This is what Vati Vidya does and things. I don't like doing that, okay? I want to be immersed in a story. I don't want to have to freaking read pages of text to connect dots and all that stuff. And for the people who do like that, I really feel that the game could still have that element and also provide the essential story and world building you need for most players to be invested to want to know how it concludes. Because that's the build-up. Just, for instance, what is the Elden Ring? You could kind of piece it together, but it's not clear. But what they really don't share in the game, and this is where I was completely lost, is how the Elden Ring affected the world so much and what caused the world to be the way it's in. I think that's really important, and it's not going to take too much time to explain, and that means it wouldn't have taken too much time for someone, cutscene, the character creation, what caused your character to become a tarnished, and all those things. Wouldn't have taken long to have that, for us at least to get that amount, but they could have done even more. And so that's just the beginning part of what made the world its way. But there's still so much mystery. You learn about Queen Marika the Immortal, all right? But there's a heap of mystery of what happened to her to get the world in. So you could have all that mystery and still at least explain what the great runes are, what the Elden Ring is, how it relates to the world, and how the rune of death, for instance, by being broken, pulled out, like the Elden Ring is shattered, but first it was broken and that rune was removed, and how it may be played, and that creates undeath and also the tarnish, all these things, okay? That's essential stuff. It really is if you want to know what's going on, but then all the mystery can still happen. Like you hear about, man, there's Godfrey, Godwin, and Godric. Which is the first one that got murdered by the Black Knives?
Yeah, there's Godfrey, Godwin, and Godric. Then there's Rani, Radahn, and Rykard.
This part is very confusing.
And then there's 3 others that all share the same suffix.
I know, I'm like, come on. But there's one of the God guys, Godric or something, that got murdered, right? And
He didn't get murdered. He didn't die.
well, I've gone down the lore building rabbit hole, and there's some interesting things of what got killed, what didn't get killed. But anyway, the Knight of the Black Knives, I think it was, for instance, there's great mystery as to who the Black Knife assassins were, where they come from, why they killed Godric, or which the first God guy, right? Because then there's Godwin and the other one. So you can have all that mystery, which means the people who love that side of FromSoft's storytelling way, right, get what they want, but also so many people and players like me wouldn't have been left in the lurch. And this is the biggest reason why I think it's important, right? I almost stopped playing Elden Ring because I got immersed in the gameplay. Really, I was having fun, but then I got that taste. That was fun. I decided, okay, maybe what will invest my enjoyment in the game is I'll try a different build. So I'd made a new character, Magic. Got her quickly to like level 30 or something using all the fun little farming spots and everything. Got some of the cool spells. Got the shockwave thing. Went to one of the first areas. So I did all that. And then I was like, oh, that was fun. Now I'm done with Magic already. I know I could get the big Kamehameha thing, but I know how that would go. And I was like, oh, wow. I've had this feeling with a lot of games. I'm already done with Elden Ring. Like, I've immersed myself in enough of the gameplay that I know I've enjoyed it, but now there's nothing holding me in Elden Ring. And so I was ready to stop. But out of curiosity, because there was so much I didn't know what's going on, I was like, I'll check out a lore video. The thing is, when I checked out that lore video, it was one of VaatiVidya's, it was so damn good, the world building, and I want to explain why it's good, I'm going to get there, was awesome that it pulled me back into the game where I had to know, I wanted to, one, interact with these characters that I learned about in the world building, so I want to find them, and if I fight them or if I want to see what happens in their story, and I want to know what the result will be, what the end will be. And so an external piece of media gave me a crucial key thing I needed as a player, as a you know, a viewer, a reader, you could even call it, because I mean, partaking in a story. Crucial element to make me want to finish the story, which makes me want to finish the game. The fact that the game didn't give me that is actually a massive failure in the game.
Yeah, but if they gave it to you, then VaatiVidya would be out of a job.
No, I reckon you could still do more clear world-building things. Because, like I said, there's essential elements that you need, that they could still leave out a lot of stuff that VaatiVidya gives, which gives you heaps of more story and all these things. And like I said, the fact that it gave me so little that I didn't even care about finishing the story, finding out what happened, I feel is actually the biggest criticism you could lob against Elden Ring. Now, it's funny, I've already kind of talked about the questing and stuff I've got a review on Night's Watch and things, and first I felt there was nothing there. Then I went through this small little thing with it's the first big boss you fight. Is he Godwin or is the last god guy? Godric, Godwin, Godfrey?
No.
I think it's Godric.
No, the first...
Godfrey is the first... Godfrey is the guy that was murdered.
The first boss you fight, the first main boss is Morgoth the Fell Omen.
Yeah, but...
It's Godric the Golden.
Okay, Godric, yeah. There was some story there that I was able to feel, hey, there was some mystery around it. I finally, there was soldiers that served. Actually, it might have been the guy that was murdered, but there was, but there was all these little nuggets about this one character that made me want to meet this character, okay? But once I met him, that was it. There was no nuggets to want me to find out the Queen, like the Queen of the Moon person and stuff. She's one of the other bosses. There was no hints to her to make me want to find her story, and she has a heartbreaking story when you find out about it. Gee, I wish I had that. If there was things that made me learn about these bosses, characters, that would pull me to want to learn more, especially if I had the larger story of how the Elden Ring turned the world the way it did, and why it's important for my character to find it. I mean, it doesn't even tell you really what the Elden Ring is. When I first started playing, I thought it was an actual physical ring. It's not.
I thought the Elden Ring was the game I press on Steam.
And so, frustrating. Now I want to go on to explain some of the great world building, backgrounds, but no spoilers, just the essential stuff that I think should have been given to players before they even started the game, really, or it's cutscenes, or as they begin. This is early stuff that the character should be exposed to, and I personally would have liked more characterization in the character you play to give personality, maybe dialogue cutscenes, not even dialogue, because Dragon's Dogma doesn't have dialogue cutscenes, but your character seems to be interacting more, even though they don't say anything, with the world around them than even Elden Ring does. But it's like your character still has more personality, and that gave me enough investment in my character in, say, Dragon's Dogma that I don't get in Elden Ring. And so with cutscenes, even as basic as Dragon's Dogma, could have revealed enough of the story, because Dragon's Dogma did it. Through cutscenes, you find out some essential elements about the story, about why a dragon takes your heart in, Dragon's Dogma, why he did that. There's an unbroken cycle you learn about, and there's world beyond worlds, and all these really cool things that are revealed just through cutscenes.
This battle sits at the very heart of our creation. We are the axis upon which the world turns and risen. Time itself rolls with your footsteps.
So they could have done an Elden Ring, absolutely, especially to give you the essential stuff. So I'm going to share some of those essential stuff, not the world building things, but hopefully enough that will give people investment to perhaps make you want to find out how this story ends, and then explain why I think it's so good. Before I get there, if you are interested in world building, because I love world building, that's one of the things what I love about writing, okay? But not only that, when I'm role playing, I love world building, creating world for the characters to interact in, but there's also game developers, it's heaps of fun, but not only world building, just writing in general. The sponsor of this video is absolutely phenomenal, which is CampfireWriting.com. What is Campfire Writing? If you've ever had experience in world building, you like to write extensive histories, backgrounds, and everything, you end up writing a document that can be larger than the story that itself, okay? Because what are the kingdoms? What's the history? What are the important characters? What are the big events? What is the magic? What is the underlining laws that give the world purpose? All these things, and finding everything that you wrote down can be a maze. Well, CampfireWriting.com is a program made to fix all that, where everything can become referenceable, where suddenly, you need the information on the kingdom, you go to that kingdom, all the information is there, or it has interactive maps, so you can get your map on there, but then you can have the important locations on it, and you just click it, so it's fully interactive. You can have histories, you can have important character backgrounds, you can have important artifacts, magic, everything is there, referenced It's phenomenal. It really helps you just keep track of everything you're doing, and it can be implemented not just in writing your own stories, but also world building for role-playing games, for game development. So many things for even LARP. Like, there are so many ways this program really helps out. It has an inbuilt word processor. It also has one of the most flexible payment structures you'll find. So that's absolutely phenomenal. It can be a one-off payment or really low monthly subscriptions. And you also pick the things that you want, the features that you want. So you don't have to get features that you would never use because it doesn't give you an option. You can use it online or locally on your desktop. You can back it up online. There are additional features like sharing features as well. And with campfirewriting.com, there are two awesome features that come with it, which is Learn and Explore. Through the Learn feature, there are these brilliant articles that go through things like the writing process, world building process, everything to help you just get great information on how to make your world building explode. And Explore, you can make the world that you create, if you're world building, publicly accessible. So if you have like a playgroup in a role-playing game or something that you want all this history available, they can access it. You can make it publicly available, but also get feedback as well. So those two features are awesome. Comes with campfirewriting.com. I really recommend it. Absolutely phenomenal. Please do go check it out. And thank you to Campfire Writing for sponsoring this video. All right, so what is the Elden Ring? Again, by me explaining this, it also, I feel, will show some of the big failure in the game. When I started the game, I thought the Elden Ring was an actual ring that was shattered. And there's even a cutscene with someone hitting what looks to be an anvil and exploding on the anvil, but you find out that that's doing something else to shatter the Elden Ring when you find out what it is.
If you look closely, you see that that's two different people.
Yes.
One person trying to reforge it, one person trying to break it.
We don't know who they are, and I think that's a good mystery that they can maintain. But in terms of just, because why you need to know the Elden Ring, what the Elden Ring is, that helps you understand how it affects the world. And this is essential stuff. It isn't spoilery stuff or everything. The Elden Ring is essentially, it's also called the Golden Law or Golden Order. It is the law, the actual fundamental rules that this pocket universe, whatever, is founded on, that has been imposed by a godlike entity called the Greater Will. And these laws are defined by runes, and the runes almost exist metaphysically, unphysically, and the only way that you can kind of see a physical representation of them are in these strange circles that are made out of these runic symbols, and because they're circles, it's called a ring, the Elden Ring. And it's not really a physical ring at all, it's a kind of more physical representation of a metaphysical law, thing that holds the laws of the universe together. This is really important because there are greater runes that are part of these circles. For instance, the rune of death. This is a really important one. And if this ring gets shattered, that means death can now then be subverted, and so when people die, the bodies don't remain dead, all right? And so the law of the world is not operating according to how it was supposed to have been formed. But that helps frame what is happening in the world, because there's undead everywhere, spirits of the dead are roaming around, you interact with them, you can even summon them and things, and this tells you why that's all happening, and why it's important for the Elden Ring to be reforged, because everything's gone to crap, but now we understand at least a little bit better as to how it all went to crap. Why it went to crap, as to what caused it and how it happened. That is still great elements that you could still find out. For instance, who shattered the Elden Ring and why? Those are great questions that hopefully would now invest the player, the audience, to discover the answers of. But if we don't care that it was shattered in the first place, why do we care for it to get reformed? When I first started playing Elden Ring, the Shattering, the big bad event, caused wars, the undead were raising, I don't know how, because I didn't even know what the Elden Ring was. But now, if I understand that this is a fundamental, essential, metaphysical thing that holds the very principles of this universe in place, so the laws in which govern reality, life, death, magic, all of that stuff. But what's also interesting, there are other sources of power in this universe, and that's separate to the Elden Ring even.
So in a way, it's the one ring to rule them all.
I thought I was getting strong Lord of the Rings vibes, which I feel is a great thing.
There's a ton of Lord of the Rings references in it. Just
There's heaps. This is one of the great compliments of Elden Ring. It draws inspiration from so many huge fantasy properties that you get all together that has kind of repackaged it in a new interpretation which feels fresh yet familiar, and that is a massive achievement. I couldn't give it a greater compliment almost than something that executes its classic elements in a new, interesting way that is familiar yet different, and also executed masterfully as well. There are other elements that I really like that I'll get to, but going back to the Elden Ring thing. One, I actually, for me, I think it would have been appropriate to call it the Elden Rune, and the Elden Rune is made up of greater runes and everything, because ring, it's a circle of shiny runes, bigger runes and smaller runes, that actually doesn't even make a perfect ring. It's like there are multiple circles. If you want to know what the Elden Ring is, it's literally the opening thing. That symbol in the background is literally the complete and whole Elden Ring. That's what it is. I didn't know that. Even the explanation I gave you, I was thinking, well, it would still form some type of circle ring thing, but no, it doesn't look like a ring at all. It's not a ring. It's a symbol made up of different circles. Should be called the Elden Rune, but maybe they called it ring because they want the Lord of the Ring connection vibe or anything. But there are other Lord of the Rings similarities that actually make it far more Lord of the Rings-esque than just having the word ring. And this is a big compliment. It's the mythical nature of the world itself, okay? Where, look at Game of Thrones. That's a very grounded, realistic world that's on a planet, and most of the people are just regular mortals and everything like that. Where if you look at Lord of the Rings, a lot of the individuals are near demigods. They have insane power. They have connections and understanding to the very formation and order and structure of the world. Gandalf is not just some roaming wizard that was a regular person born and he learnt magic as he grew up. No. These are mythical entities, okay, in a mythical realm that has a land of undying and immortality, and Middle Earth is literally this almost pocket landmass that's in the middle of these cosmic things, okay? Well, have a look at Elden Ring. It is the lands between. It's like the lands are in the middle, and if it's somewhat Earth-like, you could almost call it's like a Middle Earth, all right? See the connections, right? That's a far greater connection to the Lord of the Rings world building than just the word ring, but they, I feel, wanted to create this mythical, magical place where this doesn't even feel like it's on a planet. It's this pocket realm universe where lands seem to be floating somewhere. All right, it's the lands between that's in between these cosmic entities. There's this greater will, but this greater will is somewhat benevolent because he imposed a golden order to help hold the rules of this pocket universe together. But this golden order, which is represented and held together by the runes that frame it, that form some type of ring-like symbol, the Elden Ring.
Well, I got to correct you there.
Yeah?
So the Elden Ring was created by the Greater Will.
Yeah.
The Golden Order was created by Marika when she shattered the Elden Ring.
But the Golden Order, I thought, referred to the laws that the Elden Ring defined. Go check.
I did.
There's another great thing. There is the holy magic, right? That is founded on the faith character stat. The way they operate and the way they can combat undead is by reasserting the Golden Order, which I thought referred to the order or law of the universe, in a small location around them. And if that law is back in place that was shattered when the Elden Ring was shattered, undeath simply cannot exist in that state, and then they die.
Yeah, it looks like you might have been right.
Aha! I thought I was right.
The thing that I saw said that it was done when the thing did the thing.
I've done my research. Yeah, so the Golden Order refers to the law of the universe that was framed and held together by the Elden Ring.
Maybe. Shad, this story is coming from, it's been worked on for years by multiple people, translated from Japanese, we're just making interpretations on it. We can't take it literally.
This is just like a small thing, but again, I really like because it shows the care and attention to detail they've done in the world building. Magic, especially holy magic, like oftentimes is seen as extra, supernatural. It is a power that is on top of the just laws of physics that's in the world, and so it's a greater energy, greater magic, everything like that. Where Elden Ring's interpretation is that no, holy magic in Elden Ring isn't something that's being injected on top of the world. It's the world is broken, and holy magic is the ability to return small sections of the world back into its natural state, which then subverts the breaking or shattering that happened, which has allowed undead. And so, for instance, the way you combat undead is by re-establishing the correct order of the rune of death, and then undeath can't survive around that, and that's how you combat undeath. And so it's like bringing it back up to its normal state. And for me, that's just a creative, great interpretation, explanation of holy magic that is different to things that we've done, but it has an underlining through logic, which is really satisfying because I can kind of see how that works. And when you see how that works, you're more satisfied when you see it actually play out in the world. So going back to the mythical nature of this world, this is what I feel is really similar to Lord of the Rings, which gives me very strong Lord of the Rings vibes, where you have these godlike, mortals, but are they immortal? Because Marika is the immortal, she's the queen, but then she has demigod children, and so these aren't regular people. Their power is tied almost inseparably to the very fundamental building blocks of this universe and the gods of this world. Well, it's a great entity, but you do find out there are other gods that other people can draw things. And there's other power sources as well. For instance, the Elden Ring is connected to the power of the stars. In actual fact, one of the explanations of where the Elden Ring comes from is from a star that was granted by the greater will, but then there is power you can draw from the moon. And this is where glintstone sorcery, and there's such good lore behind all this, like the sources of magic, how they work, the reasons that for glintstone sorcery you need a catalyst, the glintstones and things.
And they also inform the different powers. It not only inform the abilities you have and the magic you can use, but they inform the actual factions and motivations of the factions in the story.
Yes, like there are factions that devoted themselves to different powers, like the Lucaria Academy, then there's the Korean royal house and things. They have such phenomenal lore and history and politics, and how they intertwine with the large players of this world, like Queen Marika, her husband, all these things that just makes me want to find these characters in the world, see what happens. I'm invested, but I got none of it from the game, which sucks and annoys me because I almost gave up on it. I would have missed out on all this great world-building lore, fun, and I'm really enjoying exploring and finishing the game now because I'm getting to understand the story and see what's happening. I can now see the resolution of the story because I understand how it begun. The game doesn't give you that. I'll just reiterate that point. I feel this is the biggest failing in the game that you could think. And even if you don't think it's a failing, I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot because they are not letting most people enjoy such phenomenal story and world building because it's hidden. This mythical nature, right, of the world has more accurately given a Lord of the Rings feeling than any other story that has tried to give homage to Lord of the Rings. And some of them are phenomenal. I love Wheel of Time, and there are heaps of nods to Lord of the Rings in the Wheel of Time series. There's Misty Mountains and Mountains of Mist, and there's just these kind of connections. Yet nothing has captured the feeling of Lord of the Rings more than this world that Elden Ring has put together. And even though the Elden Ring is not really a ring, it is this thing that is fundamental to the very structure and order of this universe. And so the Elden Ring is actually vastly more important and crucial in this world than the One Ring was in Lord of the Rings. And you don't even get to find out about that. Because if you understood that, suddenly the shattering of the Elden Ring is like, holy crap, the world is screwed unless we fix it. And it's been screwed, and you find out it's actually been screwed for a very long time. The shattering happened a long time ago, and people have been living in this horrorscape for a good while, but you don't find out about that either. It's just...
You've got to admit, it's kind of, in hindsight, putting the thing that commands the laws of your universe as a physical object in the world for people to, break in half.
Well, see, this is the great thing. This is why Elden Ring, they didn't necessarily do that, right? The Elden Ring was granted to someone as a natural byproduct of them being the leader, or the ultimate ruler, Queen Marika, ultimate ruler of this world. And there is this essential link that is created, like between the person and individual. And this is a spoiler, so I can't explain it, but it's actually really satisfying. The Elden Ring is not a physical ring that Queen Marika had. It's like, oh, just break it. No. She had to do something vastly greater to break the Elden Ring, and it was directly due to the way that she was connected to it. And the way that she is connected to it is actually a more logical through-line connection to what the Elden Ring would be in this universe than just being granted a physical ring. It doesn't make sense that Greater Will or whatever is like, here's a physical ring. And so I can't tell you why, because this is a spoiler, but it's actually really cool. And the effects and byproducts that it has are also really cool, because it explains other characters, their interactions with Queen Marika and their interactions with other characters, and why they hate each other and like each other, and there's heartbreak and sorrow and loyalty and tragedy that's all intertwined, which is actually a very natural byproduct of how the Elden Ring was shattered. That's masterful storytelling right there. If the events in the story are a natural result of cause and effect, okay, from the laws that you put in place in the story, and they did that in Elden Ring, which is so cool. And it goes back to why I'm so pissed off. It's because I wouldn't have... They don't tell you it. Oh my goodness. Other world-building elements in Elden Ring that I really like that are not spoilery, okay? Well, the whole nature of the tarnished. This would be, you're playing a tarnished. It might be good to kind of know why you are tarnished, why you became it, how it's affecting your character, and that would help give investment for the audience, the person playing the character, to want to fulfill their story, because being tarnished, you are actually inseparably connected to the things that are going on. But you don't know, when you say, you don't get any of that. You don't know what tarnished is or why it's connected to what's going on.
I thought tarnished meant that you were shiny, light to a certain direction.
No, tarnished is...
What does it mean?
Well, Queen Marika's husband became tarnished. He was the first tarnished. And their interaction with the Elden Ring from that time on, and also the Greater Will, and the grace that the Greater Will gives to the world, is what gives the tarnished their, certain abilities and stuff.
Yeah, that all went over my head just now.
Yeah, I know, because I don't want to give spoilers either, because to explain tarnished fully, I didn't even talk about the Erd Tree.
That's another Lord of the Rings thing. It's the big mythical trees that hold up the world.
Yes. Having a kind of a connection in divinity through representation of a tree is something that is it's a mythical concept that goes back to Norse mythology. What's the tree that connects all?
Life, Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil, the tree that connects. And so, again, there are huge mythical kind of concepts that Elden Ring is grabbing from multiple places. So there's one, right? It's drawing from Norse mythology, but also other properties like Lord of the Rings. But there are concepts in which they're drawing from the Arthurian tales. There's a round table, the round table hold, all right? Again, Elden Ring is this beautiful homage, combination, recreation to create something new yet familiar from just... We're talking about some of the deepest fantasy concepts that exist in European folklore that it's drawing from. And was this Martin's influence, George R. R. Martin's, or because FromSoft are great world builders, and I don't know how much influence George had in it, but he has some good understanding of European folklore, and there are some deep like folklore concepts that they have played with, and just made this beautiful homage, like representation as a result.
So the story came from Miyazaki, but the mythos of the world came from George R. R. Martin.
Well, I have no idea what they're saying.
Well, the mythos is...
Mythos, I guess, perhaps, that could explain it. Brilliant stuff. And so just to know how the Erd trees come about, their significance in the world and all that stuff, also really important. When I started Elden Ring, had no idea they're magical big trees. And I love the visual representation because, again, it gives this world a mythical feeling. This isn't a regular physical world. This is a magical world, lands in between, that's held up by mythical concepts, magical concepts, okay? It's not a planet. And it just... the combination between that and the starkly realistic kind of depiction of the medieval elements like the armor, the buildings, everything creates this incredible world. It's this mesh that feels really awesome. Oh, do you know there's also Harry Potter stuff? The Academy. The Academy, the Lucaria thingy Academy, is like this mature, dark, horrifying Harry Potter thing, but the architecture is very Hogwartsian in terms of high Gothic architectural style in this magical academy. I just did that playthrough and did the big boss there, and it was like a really cool, mature version of Harry Potter that was also horrifying.
So you fought Renala. Mm-hmm. How cool was the second phase? How beautiful was that? The big moon and everything?
It was an amazing game, right? I wouldn't have gotten there, though, if I didn't look into the world building. I would have missed out on all this cool stuff. And also, the thing is, though, when her fight, it was like confusing gobbledygook what she was saying. Then I looked up some of her history. I saw what the references she was saying in her gobbledygook and how awesome and heartbreaking her story is. Yet I still didn't get any of that in any version of clarity from the game itself. Friggin' annoying, man.
Guess you just got
She's hugging a golden egg. What is that thing? I find out that was not... I didn't find out in the game. I found out from an external source. That was actually a gift from a spurned lover who she's really heartbroken over and hung up on, and the reasons why he left and all that stuff. And it's this heartbreaking tale.
I thought it was a reference to Death Stranding, the bridge phase.
Do you see why I'm annoyed at Elden Ring? And I'm just repeating again and again. But I want to hit that point home because I think there's going to be a lot of people saying it doesn't need it and it shouldn't have it. I disagree. I think it's shot itself in the foot because of this, and it could lose a lot of even more players. I think people are just hooked on it because it's a phenomenal game with great gameplay, and that's probably enough. But I think it would be enhanced in a big way if it gave you essential story, not all the story. You can still have the mystery, the style of storytelling that they kind of do in FromSoft, but add enough clarity in the essential elements to get people invested in the story to finish to see the end.
So what you're saying is that you have a love-hate relationship with it. One half of you wants to just destroy so mad. The other half of you just wants it to stay together, and there's a lot of that going around.
But it's weird. This might be the most weird love-hate thing that I get, because people love-hate it for the gameplay, and I just love the gameplay flat. I love the difficulty, but no, I love-hate it because of that. Their story is so great, yet they've hidden it so thoroughly. Well, not even that. The people that Vati Vidya, they are completing the story of Elden Ring by needing to look at tweets from the developers. It is that incomplete in the game. Yes, I'm saying incomplete. They have actually left out essential elements in the story from the game for people to even piece it together. Even the detectives can't complete the story from the game. They need to get external material to complete it. That's an incomplete story. You don't make an incomplete story in a game if you want people invested in the story to see what happens. Freaking pisses me off, man.
It's just the Japanese way, you know.
No. This is not all right. That's the defense. This is just a different type of storytelling. No, no, no. This is a flawed type of storytelling, objectively. I'm saying it, all right? This isn't... There are some times where it is personal taste in the way stories are given. I have had the experience with my novel. My novel has really intense and essential world building that you need to understand what happens in the story. And so I wanted to I needed to let the reader know those elements so the payoffs would be satisfying. And so I put more world-building scenes in the book. Sometimes I have character observations that are just world-building because it's cool and it's fun and I enjoyed that. All right, some people don't like that type of storytelling. There's a subjective difference, but to claim that's objectively bad writing is wrong because I did it knowingly. The objective reason why it works for the story is because this information is essential to let people understand the payoff, and then the nature of delivery, okay? It goes into the classic show versus tell thing. I liked to tell a lot of this information because it was more expedient, it was quicker, and to show takes longer time. To say telling is always wrong is false. I'm not the only one who's saying this. I'm talking about some of the most celebrated authors in the world actually understand this and say the dichotomy that you always have to show and not tell is false, and it is false, all right? Sometimes telling is better than showing because it's more expedient, it's quicker, and it can be... Pride and Prejudice, one of the greatest novels ever written, has an info dump at the beginning, and it's one of the greatest beginnings of any story, okay? So info dumps can actually be really good if it's executed well and it's well written and still engaging. Anyway, there's an example of subjective taste that some people can misunderstand as objectively bad when no, you just don't like it that way. This is different. I think this is an objective thing for this fundamental reason. Because one, the subjective the thing that people like that are saying they love the storytelling that FromSoft does, all right, they can still get that. They can get that absolutely while still providing the essential story you need to want to know how the story ends. Objectively, Elden Ring does not give you the story clearly enough, not even just the beginning story, to know why the world happened is in the way it is. That's an objective flaw in it. Why are you laughing, Oz?
The Miyazaki, he treats the audience like mushrooms. He feeds us and keeps us in the dark.
That's like... You could still do that, like the mystery, the in the dark, but just still provide the bare minimum story and that the audience needs to at least understand enough of what's going on to be able for them to want to know how it will end. We don't even get that. And that is an objective flaw in storytelling. Absolutely.
I didn't need a story. I just needed to be handed a weapon and told to kill things.
There is a story there, though. This is the problem. If they just wanted a game with gameplay, why is there such tremendous world building? All right, they could have done it. They're just awesome game with great gameplay, some of the best gameplay, great boss fights and everything like that. But underlining it is one of the best world building and backstories of any property I've ever seen. I like Elden Ring, right? Has such a awesome mythical world thing. I literally hold it almost up to the same level as Lord of the Rings. It's that awesome, that mythical in it. I'm using that word a lot, but that's the best way to describe it. It is mythical in the way it's constructed, where it's like this magical realm with demigods that are interacting on as leaders in the world and all these incredibly awesome things, okay? It's phenomenal. Like, you could make, if you had a game, movie adaptations of games, all right? Arcane has shown us that it can be done really, really well. They could make like an epic fantasy trilogy or whatever about the story of Elden Ring that would easily be as good as Lord of the Rings, I reckon. If it was executed, they would need good writers, but the building blocks are there. The consistency of the world, the setup of the story, and even you kind of, like the story that you get to find out if you understand what's going on through the game, you could convert that into like the main character would be this heroic tarnished that's, takes upon themselves to reclaim the Elden Ring and save this world that has fallen into hell, basically, because the underlining power that holds the law and order of the world together has been destroyed. There's an epic tale right there. A new legend, like a new mythology. Lord of the Rings was. It's that good. And so I'm almost insulted that they have made such an incredible story and then kept us in the dark and just gave us crap. Treated us like mushrooms. That's what insults. I wouldn't have cared if there was no story to love. But the fact that I found out there is such this awesome story and that you barely get fed it at all in the game, it's an objective flaw. If they wanted people to enjoy the story this much, and most people will not even, how many people are going to look up lore videos of Elden Ring? Most casual gamers won't. They won't even, and perhaps the game will be enough to hold them. Story is what causes me to finish a game. And this is why I love role-playing games so much, because story is so essential, and this is why we had this debate on Night's Watch, if Elden Ring is even a role-playing game, because there's so little story presented to you. It's hidden.
Well, to be fair, I started playing Dark Souls 2 and 3 not because any of the gameplay, but because there was a bunch of Vati Vidya videos where he explained the story. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I want to play this game.
What you've just said then is another condemnation on FromSoft style, because there should have been enough story in the game to attract you, not an external source.
Yeah, but Vati needs a job. With a voice like that.
He can still have his job. Like I said, you can still have mystery. Like, what happened to Queen Marika, all the things that happens with Queen Marika, in relation to the Shattering, that's all bread and butter. He can still do that. But you could at least explain what the Elden Ring is, its relation to the world, why it's shattering screw the world so much, why you need to put it back together, how it's affecting your character, and also clearer cutscenes that explain the bosses, their interaction with the world and everything. Like the first big boss you fight, the guy with the stick. Big stick. That guy has big stick energy. His connection with the story would have been really good to know. But he's actually a significant player in the whole thing.
Well, you haven't even finished off Radahn yet, so...
I'm taking my time because I don't like to miss bosses. I don't like to miss things. I wanted to get every little hidden nook in the academy place. So I'm taking my time. I am 100 hours in now.
You've been to Caelid. Have you gone anywhere near Radahn?
Hang on, is that the capital?
No, Caelid is the place that looks like hell.
Yeah, I've been around there just to get items. I purposely don't want to fight any bosses in Caelid because I take things slowly, but I have gone outside of the area to grab other things. Yeah. Like I said, I'm taking my time. I want to soak in everything. Maybe that's, I don't know why. I need more story to get me through because I take it so slow and methodically, and I need story to keep me going because I've played a lot of Elden Ring without progressing the story much because I want to get everything that's in the game. But because of that, the only thing that's holding me was the gameplay because there was no greater story pulling me along. Now I have the story, I want to find out, and that's pulling me. But this was the same like when I played Red Alert back in the day. You know the thing that wanted me to finish Red Alert? Well, the cutscenes in between the levels because it had a larger story of what was going on. That was awesome!
I like the cutscenes in Red Alert as well.
You're talking about Red Alert 2.
Is that the one that has Catherine?
Yeah, there's an actress playing Tanya in it.
Yeah, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, yeah. And Steve Curry. Great Steve Curry.
I played both Red Alerts, but the cutscenes and the story were the thing that was pulling me through. I think story can be such a profoundly great thing to engage a player in the game and get them to want to finish it. And Elden Ring is like, nah, we're not going to do that. We'll just keep them in the dark and feed them crap. I like your analogy. I'm using that now. And again, I an objective flaw, and I'm not saying it needs to be Dragon Age Origins in its story or anything. I'm just saying, just give us the essentials. You can still have the mystery. Just give us the essentials. You don't really find out much about the girl that gives you the horse. What's her name?
Melania.
I don't know much about her at all.
Yeah, don't confuse her with Milena.
She wants to go to the Erd Tree. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, her motives are a bit iffy. Towards the end of the game, they come into question.
I'd love to know more about her. We don't get given spit about her, really. She's just like, I'm going to be Oh, you were maidenless. Okay, yeah. What's maiden? Like, why is being maidenless? Give us some information on that. Maybe this video is just going to piss off all the Elden Ring fanboys.
Yeah.
Probably, but look, I'm actually coming from it from, I guess, a different perspective, a writer's, a storyteller perspective. That Elden Ring, like truly, Elden Ring doesn't pull people through the game because of the story. It's the gameplay and the boss battles and doing the next thing. And that's a flaw in its storytelling, I think, because they could have used the story the story is so great. It would have been such a powerful tool to invest people and pull them into the game and get them through to finish.
In terms of pissing off Elden Ring players, the Elden Ring players that are short on patience already got a refund. So you're fine.
Possibly. You would expect the Elden Ring fanboys to have more patience than any other gaming group in the world. But when you criticize things that people like, they get a bit salty sometimes. But still, I'm expressing my genuine annoyance, and it comes from love of what is there. Like, it's probably the most backhanded compliment anyone can give, because it's so good, and I'm just so annoyed that we got given so little of it. And that I need to go into all this external material just to understand these cryptic cutscenes. Oh, man. If we talked about Queen Marika's story and what happens to her, that is so cool that you would be invested and want to finish it. It's just that's a big spoiler. But actually, look, I'll give a spoiler now because we're at the end of near the end of the video. I'm going to explain what I think they could have shared about Queen Marika. Not all of it, but just enough to get you invested to find out what happened to her. Okay? And so I think this shouldn't be a spoiler. I think this is a central world-building story to help you want to find out what happens, right? But because it isn't in the game, I will count as a spoiler now. But are they even going to find this out in the game? The essential stuff I'm going to explain, I think is still so cryptic in the game, you wouldn't even get it when you play it.
To find it in the game, you have to get a specific incantation, go to a specific spot, and use this incantation. It doesn't tell you...
To find out what happened to Queen Marika and the Elden Ring.
Well, not to find out what happened, but to find out that Queen Marika is...
Well, we're going to go into spoilers now, all right? But again, I'm annoyed that you even would consider this a spoiler because it's so essential. Like, this makes the breaking of the Elden Ring, what we're going to explain, personal. Not this, oh, the Elden Ring was shattered. No, this affects someone on a personal level to the point where you want to find out what happens to this person. Now you're invested in character, story, and continue. So now we're going to explain it. I don't think this should be a spoiler. This should have been the beginning cutscene, okay? The Greater Will gives the Elden Ring to the leader of the world, okay? And it kind of chooses the leader based on their essential characteristics, and Queen Marika had those characteristics to identify her as the one worthy to receive the Elden Ring. Thing is, though, the Elden Ring isn't actually a physical ring. The way that they receive the Elden Ring is that it basically becomes a permanent part of their physical nature. Queen Marika becomes the Elden Ring. It's inside her. It is her. And so for her to break the Elden Ring, she has to rip off a part of her physical self. And that explains the image of the broken arm and the half person and stuff. That's what she had to do to rip out the Elden Ring on like a spiritual, but it also affects her physical self. That's how she breaks it. That caused a massive effect, and probably like by separating that from her, she could then manipulate. So her intent to begin with was to get the Rune of Death and use it and manipulate it to give herself immortality. And so we're already seeing some selfish intents behind Queen Marika. She probably wasn't the best person. There's still a lot of mystery around it. Like, the lore detectives are still trying to figure stuff out because it's so buried. Her relation to the Elden Ring, and now that she's this weird, half-broken god being, already, and it's essentially tied into the Elden Ring. And for the Elden Ring to be shattered, guess who essentially needs to be shattered? Queen Marika does, okay? It's this connection. I love this world-building element because something as fundamental to this universe as the very energy, power, rune, whatever, that's holding the order of this world together, couldn't be manifest as a physical object. But if someone is given power or ability to take care or gain energy connection from if someone is given that connection, it makes sense that that connection becomes a physical thing to themselves. And then the thing that has caused a physical interaction to the Elden Ring is the fact that it's connected to a person. It's not an object, it's connected to a person because you need will to be able to understand the Elden Ring, the order, all that. So there's a logical through line that I like better already.
To be fair though, the Elden Ring does become a physical object when I start beating it out of Marika in the final boss fight. So,
but is it an energy?
well, energy is...
Like, it's a magical runey thingy. It's not like a physical solid object, like a piece of toast.
I'm hungry, that's why
I was going to say a piece of jewelry, like a ring. But no, that makes sense. Like I like the idea that the Elden Ring is so beyond the physical plane because it's the very law and order of the universe that you can't touch it. But as soon as someone gets connected to it, like Queen Marika did, you have a physical connection that you could manipulate the Elden Ring through the physical connection, which is herself, her physical self. She shatters herself to shatter the Elden Ring. What an awesome logical through line that explains some mythical, magical concepts. I love it. That's absolutely awesome. And then it affects her. The the Great Rune of Death is separated, but then something happens to corrupt that to screw over everyone. And it gets worse and worse, and then Queen Marika starts to lose it and everything. And there's still mystery that can be had, but as soon as even if you get given the stuff that we're explaining clearly here, if they explain that clearer in the beginning cutscene, I would be more invested in, wow, Queen Marika, I really want to find out what's going on. Why did she do this and everything? And even more, I like more about the Elden Ring, because then the Elden Ring was separated from her, the Great Runes, other people are holding the Great Runes, there was the big wars, all these stuff. Anyway, that's just one example, but there's still more that could have been explained in maybe some early cutscenes, maybe not all together, but you don't need to go into huge detail. It didn't take us too long to kind of explain what's going on in Marika or what the Elden Ring is. A simple thing that they could have done, which would have improved the immersion into Elden Ring's story vastly more than what you get in the game, is that every time you reach a new area, they have a cutscene with Melina, and she can warn you about the dangers of the area and its current state, and propose some type of mystery referencing perhaps the boss battle that is to come. And that would have made me, at least, and I feel a lot of players, vastly more invested in the story and what's going on in each new area. Because in the area with the Academy, I had no idea what was going on in the Academy, and I knew nothing of the story to draw me there, apart from I saw a really big place that maybe I'll explore. But if I knew some things about it, the dangers that were there, who is in power, who I might have to fight, I would have been so much more invested to want to find out what happened. And then I also might have understood some of those cryptic messages in the cutscene in what plays after you defeat the big boss of that area. And I feel that would invest people more. It would have invested me. We'll wrap this video up. Thank you for watching, guys. I do recommend Elden Ring. Even with how poorly it tells the story, it's a phenomenal game. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I look forward to reading them, and I hope to see you in the next video on Shadowversity. So until that time, farewell.